Hi everybody, Adam here. Welcome back to our ongoing Lego storage video series. In today's video, we're revisiting a storage solution that we've covered before, but talking a bit more about how we're applying it to the storage of Lego tree and vegetation parts in general. So let's take a closer look. So the storage container is the DeWalt removable bin storage system. Really happy with these containers in general. We have 3 of them here that we are using for Lego vegetation parts, and really specifically largely for tree parts. And the goal of using these particular storage containers as opposed to our Acro Mills storage containers that we have along the perimeter of the Lego room is to have something that's really convenient for moving around the layout with, taking, to shows, and, being able to construct vegetation where it's needed in a very mobile and easy fashion. And, really happy with how these are functioning so far. And as you've probably seen in some of our recent videos, we've acquired a large number of tree and vegetation parts as we start to build out some of the forest areas and some of the other vegetation details around the layout. So looking in closer at some of the parts that we have here, you'll notice that we've got a number of these awesome Lego bush pieces here. Really awesome little plant. And I was surprised at how many different colors it comes in. But there's a lot of different variety. We've got the light green ones here. We've got the dark green, which I think is my personal favorite. I've got more of the light green ones at the moment, but would definitely like to pick up more of these dark green ones. I think they look really cool. And then you can see we've got a red version of it and more of a lime green version. And, these particular bush pieces are a good example of one of the issues with Lego vegetation pieces. A lot of them are actually quite expensive and hard to get, just because Lego doesn't make them in a really large volume. So these bushes are generally, more expensive than some of the other parts that you might get. But really happy to have a number of them here that we can use as detail pieces around some of our buildings and structures that we're putting together. And, it just kind of helps fill some of that empty space that you might find around a building, that just is kind of unnatural. So really happy to have these, and it's nice to have them in this container because it's super easy to pull this container over and around the layout and add those detail pieces in. So this is an example of something that doesn't require further assembly, so it's super useful to have in a mobile container like this. Now, carrying on into some of the other parts here, we've got a large number of the flower plant stem pieces here. So we've got the standard green, but we've also got the dark brown and more of a tan or orange version of it here. And really looking forward to building a number of different trees with these parts. There's some big ones based on instructions from Japaz on rebrickable that we've talked about that these will go into. But I've also seen some other interesting variations on trees using this particular type of part that I'm interested to try out as well. So these will go into putting those together. Also, we've got the tiny leaf pieces here. So we've got the light green and then the darker green versions of that. Now, one tricky thing that comes up with some of these parts here, as you can already start to see, is there's a lot of different colors of these parts. And I haven't come up with a good solution yet as to how I should store that across these different DeWalt containers. If I did everything out by part and by part color, I would probably have, a whole lot more than 3 of these containers, and it might get pretty unwieldy. So, for now, I've got these things separated out by color. There's nothing that I've mixed colors yet into the same container. This is a good example up here, like that green and that red could definitely live together. I've got the higher quantity of the lighter green, so that one probably can live, on its own. But, for ones like this that are more one-offs, they could live together. But I bring that up because, when it comes to these small leaves, there's definitely a lot more colors of this particular part that I want to get. A lot of fall and sort of more, fall winter style leaf colors that would be really useful, I think. So I'm going to be picking those up, and we'll have to figure out how to fit them into this system and what the right method is. I could definitely see as a variation on this that might make, that might make more sense and would free up some space in some of these containers, would be to have a particular DeWalt container that only had the kind of the prefabbed pieces. So we could have the bushes in there, and we could also have the prefabbed Lego trees and all their variations in there as well. So, those are things that aren't going to be used to assemble bigger trees. They're just decoration for, they can just be put straight out into the layout. So that to have those in their own container would probably make sense. But definitely, I think as we continue to evolve our collection here to have more of the color variations, we're going to have to do another step up on these DeWalt containers, and it's probably doable in the short term. It's not too big a deal to add another 2 or 3 of these in for those additional parts, but as it starts to go beyond that, it might end up being too much. So we'll have to see exactly how that works going forward as we get those extra parts. But carrying on, looking at the parts that we've got here, we've got those leaves there, and then we've got some of the vine pieces over here. Now, one thing that I really like about the removable bins in here, as well in the DeWalt containers, is it's really easy to, if I wanted to work with the vines, I can pull this container out and just move around with this container on its own. I don't even need to take the bigger bin around with me once it's opened on the layout. So that's really nice. The other cool thing is that you've got some flexibility with changing the layout of the bins inside here. So you can see in this first one that we went through here, we've got the 2 larger size bins over on this side, and the rest of them are the smaller bin size. Now, if you look over here in the middle container, because of some of the parts that I've got here and how I was trying to lay them out, I actually shifted these around, and we've got 3 of the bigger containers in this one. and then the rest is the smaller, I guess, half-size containers. So that is a nice advantage as well. You can see here it made sense to have more of the big containers because I've got a higher quantity of some of these leaf pieces here. Really like these larger leaf ones. I think these are going to really make some nice trees that stand out quite well around the layout. Again, I really like the dark versions of these pieces. Really nice dark green color there, and I think that's going to look great as well. And in this particular piece, we've already started to get some of the different color variations. So you can see here we've got the yellow version, which will look really great for some autumn trees. Things where the leaves are starting to change color. Should add a lot of nice sort of vibrant visual interest to the layout in general, and specifically the pockets where we have this vegetation. Now, I've talked about having some of the trees around the city portion of the layout be swappable based on the season that we're trying to represent. I don't know that we would do that everywhere, but regardless, really nice to be able to have some of these more autumn-looking colors for these parts, so that we can have the option to either mix those autumn trees in up front, or have them to swap in based on season in the layout. Now, from a bigger picture perspective, this DeWalt storage container here is all leaf parts. So we've got the bigger leaves on this end of the storage container. And you can see here again, so we got these dark green, light green, I guess this is kind of a medium green, light green, dark green, and yellow. And then on this side, we've got the smaller leaf parts. So you can see obviously a very, a noticeable size difference there. So we've got those in brown, then the green through here. Now, obviously you can see I'm taking up 3 bins for the same color of leaf piece here. Not necessarily ideal. I do think that I will want to work out some sort of an overflow system for the DeWalt storage containers, so that these represent the broad sort of palette of vegetation parts that I can pull from. And then I've got the backup bags of parts that I can go to if I just need a larger quantity of a particular piece. But for now, I've got pretty much all the vegetation parts represented in these 3 containers. So it works for now to have everything here and to have those duplicate bins of the same part, just so that everything's in one place. But, as I start to fill out some of the color variety of these smaller leaves, and get some of the other vegetation and support pieces in, this is one area where I think, I can definitely thin these storage containers down a bit, create that overflow, and still be able to easily access everything. Now, the last storage container is a bit of a catch-all, but the idea and sort of what it represents here is that we've got some of the supporting pieces that go into creating the vegetation. So in this case, we've got these parts here, which make up trunks of trees. We've also got some clips in here, which will be real pivotal parts for some of the trees that we're looking to build. I've also got a number of these cheese slopes in the sand green, which I think will allow me to to make some interesting evergreen style trees. So excited about the potential of those. And, vegetation is not just made up of leaves. There's a lot of twigs and branches and trunks and other parts of these plants that need to be represented as well. And so I want to make sure that through these containers, I'm representing both sets of pieces, the obvious vegetation as well as those support pieces, which are critical to forming the underlying structure of these plants. So I'm starting to try to collect all of those pieces together and represent them in here as well. Beyond that, we've also got some of the kind of seaweed kelp parts there. Really cool looking piece. And this is one where you can see I've got the light green version in there as well as the dark green, just for space purposes. And then we've got just some other miscellaneous vegetation pieces there, and then a few more over here. Also picked up for some of the trees that I'm looking to make. We got some of these parts. Cool type of plant piece that I think will go well with the trees we're building. And then let's see, we've got some overflow of the bigger leaf parts. As I mentioned, before, those will end up in, Ziploc bags nearby that I can easily access. But for now, everything's fitting into these containers, so I felt it was best to keep that overflow here, but I will start to migrate that out as I get additional variety and types of parts in that need to go in these containers. And then you can see we've also got some other flower and plant parts in there. And then, as I mentioned, we've got the old school Lego trees here. You got the evergreen with that nice cone shape, and then we've got the more oval sculpted top to that tree. So really happy overall with how these DeWalt storage containers are working and starting to come together as we build up our collection of vegetation parts. I'm going to be starting to, now that this is getting really sort of organized and it's easy to access all of these parts, I'm going to be starting to build some of the trees that we've talked about in some of our recent videos based on instruction sets that we've picked up from Rebrickable and elsewhere. So a lot of this overflow will become a non-issue as well, because we're going to start to use up a lot of these pieces. But being able to have everything nicely accessible in this format really should speed up the tree building process, because everything's going to be really easy to access and work with. So that concludes our look at the DeWalt removable bin storage containers and how we're using them for storing our vegetation and plant pieces. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. As I mentioned, we will have videos upcoming soon as we start to build some of the different trees that we're trying out for the layout. Really excited about the potential of those trees and how some of these parts are going to contribute to making them. And just some of the eye-catching details and color that should add to the overall layout. I think it should be really cool. Well, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you guys again soon. Take care. Bye.